Hi, friends. I'm Scott Giles, a consulting hypnotist and a life coach. And every Saturday afternoon at 2:30 Central Time, I make a short 5 or 10-minute video on some aspect of life coaching or the hypnotic arts and sciences. And today I want to talk about self-defeating behaviors. Now, before I begin, a little personal note. When I made my video last week, a lot of you noticed I was wearing a great big bandage on my left hand. I did make a comment about it. I'm still wearing a bandage, but a much smaller one. Hopefully this will come off today when I see the doctor. Basically what happened is I was attacked by a vicious wild vegetable while preparing dinner the other day. I got myself pretty badly. But I was victorious, despite the fact that I was wounded. I sauteed that sucker. So I'm fine. Okay, self-defeating behaviors. Well, to start, let me tell you a little story about a phone call I received some time ago. It was a voicemail, and a woman gave me her name and number and said she wanted to talk to me, that she often wasn't as successful in her life as she wanted to be. Okay, well, that's life coaching, and I can certainly help with that. So I returned her call, and it went to voicemail. Her voicemail message said, "Hi, I don't usually pick up my messages." Beep. What? Why even have voicemail if you're not going to pick up your messages? And talk about self-defeating behavior. Do you think people are really going to be willing to play phone tag with you for days and possibly weeks until you decide you're willing to take their call? Crazy. But, self-defeating behavior is any behavior that takes you away from what you want to achieve. But we all got our favorite ways of doing self-defeating behavior. I'm going to talk about mine. I think where this comes from in transactional analysis is called the not okay little child. That is the part of us that is socialized early in our development. And we're socialized by being scolded and corrected by parents and adults in our environment. So we internalize in our subconscious mind the idea that we're stupid and we don't know what to do, and that we're somehow flawed or wrong a lot of the time. And that meme kicks around in our subconscious mind and I think manifests in adulthood as a tendency to self-sabotage. Now, everyone's got their preferred way, as I said. My personal favorite self-defeating behavior is to take on too much. I run a busy practice here. I also maintain a research program in hypnosis and oncology at Amita LaGrange Hospital in Illinois, now in its 28th year. And I do 4 free clinics for cancer patients in an arc around Chicago. Wellness Beyond Walls in Palatine, Wellness House in Hinsdale, Little Company of Mary Hospital in Evergreen Park, and Edward Hospital in Naperville. Plus, I'm also a martial artist. I maintain an active spiritual life. I'm the cook of the household. I also do all the shopping and the housework as I'm married to a handicapped woman. And in my spare time, I'm the Legislation and Governmental Concerns Officer for the National Guild of Hypnotists. Now, that's a pretty full agenda and easily can become self-defeating for me if I'm not careful. I can get to a point where I'm so filled up with things to do, I end up just spinning my wheels. So I've installed in my life ways of dealing with this tendency to say yes too often and to take on more than I probably should. First, gut check. We only have so much energy. If we put too much on our plate, we become overwhelmed to the point where you stop having fun. And that's really defeating because I believe in my own psychology and spirituality that the purpose of life is to enjoy it. So I do a gut check with myself frequently. Am I enjoying what I'm doing? Is my life fun? That gut check is really important because if the answer is no, then I've got to pull back and punt and delegate or drop some responsibilities and get myself back into a better place so I'm enjoying my life rather than defeating myself. The second thing I do is stress-free productivity. I follow the time management system of a time management guru named David Allen. The system is called Getting Things Done, and it's subtitled Stress-Free Productivity. Now, I'm by nature a high energy and organized person. I'm told that can be a pretty frightening combination. I take Getting Things Done, and there are different ways you can implement it with paper or computer programs. I implement it using very complex methods. DevonThink, OmniFocus. These are programs that have a learning curve, but they're very powerful. And once you've gone through the learning curve, they make you highly efficient. I also organize my home using what's called the Fly Lady system. FlyLady.net if you're interested. A way of organizing your household tasks so they all get done, but don't take up a lot of time. And I use the Kanban system. That's originally developed by Toyota in Japan. A Kanban is a way of reminding yourself easily about some action you need to take, and the reminder is a physical object. You know, when you have a roll of garbage bags and you pull one out and it says, time to reorder? Well, that time to reorder bag would be called a Kanban. It's a physical object that reminds you to take an action. And I use these routinely. If I know I want to organize a cabinet, I'll put something that belongs in the cabinet on top of it. That's a Kanban. It reminds me to take an action. So I don't have to use up real estate in my memory to get that done. So stress-free productivity. I use simple systems that I can trust, and as I trust that nothing can fall through the cracks, I can relax. The third thing I use is what Coach Christina Kane at UpLevel, and do check out our website, she's really great for productivity, she calls dopamine snacks. When you do something and feel that you're effective, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good. If you fall behind or fail, you get a little hit of cortisol, which is a negative emotional experience. So you want to keep those little hits of dopamine coming to keep your motivation up. Now, a technique that I learned years ago from Don Monton, the vice president of the National Guild of Hypnotists, when working with someone who seems resistant, is to, and I think this is what Don called it, to reduce the goal to the ridiculous. If someone will not exercise for a half hour, have them exercise for 3 minutes. You know, a commercial comes on TV, stand up and do a couple of squats or do a couple of push-ups or stretch. You can do that. And if you want to keep on going, that's great, but if you don't, stop. But you've at least succeeded in the goal. And you get a little dopamine snack. Now, I believe what Ms. Kane does in their practice is they organize all goals into 3 levels. The goal that we can do very easily, a goal that we really would like to do, and a goal that would be fantastically successful. And she's got articles on our website. I recommend them. I don't actually do that myself. What I do is I chunk down. When I have a project or a goal, I break it into tiny little chunks. And then I can whap them out because no one of those chunks takes a lot of time. Sometimes this is called continuous flow processing. So today I'm making a pulled pork for dinner. I'm going to cook it in a pressure cooker. So as a way of getting that started, what's the first thing I have to do? Get out my pressure cooker. I can do that even if I'm very busy today with clients and other obligations. So I got out the pressure cooker. Now I'll set another little note. Bring the pork shoulder up to room temperature. It's on the counter right now. What I do when I break a project down into these little chunks, I'm in the position, again using a story from a metaphor from David Allen, I've got a pile of uncranked widgets next to a widget cranking machine. I don't have to think about what to do next. It doesn't take much energy. I just chunk through it. That's what I do. Now, once you determine what your particular style of self-defeating is, then you're in a place to think about what habits do you have to install in your life to help protect you from that behavior. Now, what works for me probably won't work for you because we have different self-defeating tendencies, but you've got some. And I don't know what would work for you, but I guarantee that you will do better in your life if you give it some thought and actually sit down, maybe with a pad and pencil, and make some notes and do some brainstorming. Figure out where your Achilles heel is, where that not okay adapted child screams in your ear and tells you you shouldn't be successful. And then figure out what you need to do to change that. I guarantee you'll do better if you do that personal self-help exercise. As always, if I can be helpful to you, please feel free to reach out. When I edit this for putting up on my YouTube channel, the next slide will be my website. Feel free to contact me there. There's lots of helpful information. And I will be back next week at the same time, 2:30 Central, with another short video. And I'm going to talk about verbal self-defense and verbal judo. And I'll remind you, I have 2 degrees in philosophy with a strong specialization in logic and oral argumentation. So I think you might find that helpful. Thank you much. You have a great day.